You're listening to Experience Imagination, a themed entertainment design podcast presented by Falcon's Creative Group. Every episode, we discuss a new topic with a panel of creative professionals. Hi, I'm Cecil McPurry, Chief Executive Officer of Falcons.
Welcome to another episode of Experience Imagination. I'm your host, Audrey DeLong. Today, I'm welcoming just one guest to the podcast. His name is Simon Phillips, and you may have read or heard recently that he is the new president of Falcons Beyond. We feel extraordinarily grateful to have him on board, and we're dedicating this entire episode to getting to know him and learning about some of the ways he will impact our company. Before we get to the interview, though, let me just mention some of the iconic franchises he has in one way or another helped guide. Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Cocomelon, Pokemon, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Now that I have your attention, let's bring in the man himself. Hello, Simon.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm a little still shell-shocked, I think, about being here at Falcons and trying to absorb everything that's going on. It's quite humbling to come into a company that has such an incredible culture and such a phenomenal reputation in the various industries that it's in, and have that opportunity to come in and to be a part of it. I have been involved with Falcons in one way or another for 20 plus years. So I met Cecil originally when I was at 4Kids, and he came in because he was doing some work on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ride. And then we reconnected when I was running Marvel, and Cecil and the team were designing the IMG World of Adventures.
Right.
And then subsequently, after Marvel was acquired by Disney, I had the opportunity to engage with him again. So it really wasn't until I got a call from Cecil and Scott, and they were explaining to me where the company is going and the impact that it is going to have beyond the physical location-based entertainments, that I really began to picture how Falcons can have a place that goes into breaking new areas and defining new experiences. And when the opportunity was presented to me to first join the board and then join the company, this is what got me excited, got my creative juices flowing.
I was going to ask you that because this is true for anybody who joins a company that has to move to a different location for that job. You were in London.
I was. You can probably tell by my accent that I am British, born and bred. I've lived around the world, but my home is London. Coming to the US, to Orlando, of all places, was a huge culture shock.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you there, the weather is very nice. Mm-hmm. At least it's sunny. And people have been so friendly. Not just the people in Falcons. I mean, that's a given, because I think that the tone of the company is set by the leadership, so set by Cecil and Scott, and they have this incredible way around them. But just in general, people in Orlando have been really warm. I get a lot of, I'm not even going to try the American accent, but I get a lot of people coming up to me saying, "Oh my God, I love your accent."
Yeah.
The strangest thing is, the other day I was sitting at dinner and somebody said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from London." They said, "Do you know my friend Bob?" I want to say
No.
London's one of the big, it happens all the time. But London is a massive, massive city, and I probably know a Bob, but I doubt it would be the same Bob.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you've only been here a few weeks like we talked about, and you talked a little bit about the culture, but other than that, what are your initial impressions of Falcons?
Incredible teamwork, incredible passion, focused. I think that's one thing I've noticed. I come in the morning and I watch. I have a tendency to walk around the office and look at what people are doing, because I'm trying to absorb what people are doing. And a lot of this is really new for me, especially on the Falcons creative side, and watching theme parks being mapped out in front of me. So I kind of watch people and I see the interaction, and that's great. I think everybody seems to be focused on a common goal as well. And at least from what I can tell, the atmosphere within the company is incredibly friendly and very open. I've suddenly become a big fan of Cuban coffee. I actually think that we should now have that in morning, kind of mid-morning, late morning, and then into the afternoon as well, because that was some good stuff.
All right, Joelle, are you listening? That is interesting that you talk about some of these things about Orlando and the focus and everything, because I'm kind of wondering, did you work remotely when you were working with all these big companies?
No. The only time I worked remotely was during lockdown. In the UK, we had a very severe lockdown. When I worked for 4Kids, and in fact for Marvel, I was UK-based, but I would travel extensively. So I would travel at Marvel. I was traveling about 300 days a year, which really took its toll.
Whoa.
And I found, after I moved from Marvel to Disney, I found a work-life balance. And anybody who is a parent, let me give you my words of wisdom, because when those days are gone, they never come back again. So if you miss a school function, or you miss a play that your kids are in, or a baseball game, not that I had any baseball games to go to in the UK, but if it'd been a soccer game,
there you go.
You never get those back. So that work-life balance is important. And I see it here at Falcons, that there is this really strong work-life balance. And I was hoping to get that out of Florida. People had told me that it was going to be a different sort of intensity compared to London. And even in my short period of time, I have noticed that people in Florida have a more healthy outlook on life.
Mm-hmm. I would think London would be really intense.
London is like New York.
Yeah.
It's 24 hours a day. You never stop. There's something always going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I thrive on that intensity, I have to say. I think you either thrive or you don't. There's no sort of middle ground there. I didn't realize, though, that there is another side to that. And I think coming here and seeing the outdoor culture and that more life-work balance, it's something that, okay, you're never too old to experience it. So I'm now experiencing it now. And I'm going to enjoy it, I can tell.
Yeah, that's great. Pardon the analogy to superheroes, but hey, your background with Marvel and all. What superpower are you bringing to Falcons?
Well, I've always been asked the question, if I could choose a superpower, what would it be? It hasn't been phrased before on what superpower do you bring. So I actually worked with the kind of the dark side of the superhero universe before I worked on the Marvel side. So I've seen the superheroes on both, and I think that the Marvel superheroes have a way of being able to be far more relatable than other superheroes. You know, Peter Parker was bitten by a spider. Frankly, you could be bitten by a spider in Orlando. And who knows? This could get superhero powers. That does not mean, by the way, that you should be looking for a spider to bite you. But I think that the Marvel superheroes are superheroes that, for the most part, you can reflect. So if you look at someone like Tony Stark, Tony was very much into himself in the very beginning.
Right.
And in the end, he sacrificed his life to save other people. Not that I am suggesting that is my superhero power, but what I'm trying to get at is that I think anybody can have a Marvel superhero power. And for me, the ability to come and look at people with empathy, to try and put myself in understanding what they're going through, but at the same time, mission focus, clarity of purpose. That's sort of the Nick Fury superhero power. And I think that's something I really want to bring to anywhere that I go is clarity of focus and mission-driven processes.
For sure. Well, I'm glad you're here to bring that. So let's get into more reasons why you're here, by the way. So first of all, what does the president of a company actually do on a daily basis?
I'm still learning that. In the beginning, my role is very much to work with Cecil and Scott and try and take from them some of the huge amounts of work that they're doing to free them up to continue to lay out the long-term vision of the business. So working with Yvette, working with the other executive team members in helping drive forward the agendas and the messages and the business initiatives that are set by Scott and by Cecil. I'm also trying to bring in an understanding of how larger corporations work, because whilst Falcons today is a relatively small company in comparison to the likes of Disney, we have lofty ambitions to grow massively and rapidly, especially in the not too distant future. So being able to come in at this stage and help implement that is an exciting prospect for anybody. So as president of the company, that's the sort of thing that I'm going to be doing as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good time to be with Falcons in general. How will you leverage the knowledge you gained while implementing successful strategies at companies like Disney and Marvel? How are you going to implement what you learned here?
One of the challenges you have in companies today is a lot of opportunities touch a lot of different people. And unless you know who it is who is actually responsible for delivering something, sometimes you don't achieve what you want to achieve in the time that you want to achieve it in or need to achieve it in because there are too many people trying to do the same thing. So it's really working to bring the opportunities to individuals, giving them a sense of ownership in delivering something that will have a profound impact on the company, because at this point, everything that we do within Falcons has such an impact on the business. Everybody has to be able to have the opportunity to experience how they are an integral part of Falcons and the trajectory that we're on. There was a Yoda-ism. He said, do or do not, there is no try. And I think that is the message. You can sit here and you can continually consider and think and whatever. Do it. Just go and do it. Calculated, ask people, but do it. Mistakes will be made. Undoubtedly, people will make mistakes. Don't not try it. Don't just say, I'm not going to do it because I'm scared of failure. I mean, if you make a mistake, own it and move on. The worst thing is to get in a position where you don't do anything because you're scared of the failure.
Well, I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail.
They do, and I think you learn from your failures. But I'm also very much of the opinion that based upon the data available to you at that moment, you may very well have to change the direction in which you were going. You need to be able to say to yourself, this is the plan I had, but the data tells me today that plan is no longer right. So you have to adjust. You can't put your blinkers on and just say, this is my plan and I've got it approved and I'm going for it. If the data tells you it's wrong, then you have to be prepared to make changes.
I did want to ask you about the Kathmandu IP. Does Falcons have a unique opportunity in the play industry with our Kathmandu IP?
We have a theme park which tells a cohesive story. That's unique. So we have the story, we have the physical location, we will have an animated series, we will have other forms of content. We have a Roblox game, we have a mobile game. How you enter that Kathmandu experience, it could be at the theme park, which will then drive you perhaps to Roblox depending on your age profile, or drive you to the mobile game, which could drive you to the animated series or a live action series or a movie, whatever that piece of content is, which then drives you to consume product. Or you could find the product in the very beginning and you could fall in love with Borrow, and you buy Borrow, and then you learn that there is, by the way, an animated series or a live action movie, or maybe there's a theme park. So how you enter, it doesn't matter. What matters is you have multiple entry points with one piece of content or one physical location supporting the other. So yes, I believe that Falcons has a unique offering. We're going to start something new. And yes, there have been successes with content coming from theme parks. You've got to think of Pirates of the Caribbean, but that was one or two components. You had the movie and you had the theme park. There was nothing really beyond that. Where we're going to take our Kathmandu franchises into uncharted territory, and that's exciting. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't think we could achieve something really fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a long history of consumer products, bringing brands and IPs to market, selling in the retail space. I'm kind of just wondering if you could just tell our audience a little bit about what goes into the strategy behind consumer products.
There is a theory and there is a reality. So one of the challenges of theoretical planning without understanding truly who your consumer is that you come up with content and strategies based around your own personal feelings. But the industry is called consumer products. So you have to understand the consumer. And when you understand the consumer, you put the consumer at the very heart of your equation, then you're able to understand how a consumer engages with a particular strategy or a particular franchise, what sort of products that consumer is into, and what the right licensees are for that consumer, and how do you activate it at retail. But if you want to take it from the product first and not understanding the consumer, you're not going to have the very best execution. And who are we aiming this at? It's not what do you want as an individual, but who's the consumer and what's the need state for the consumer? What are you trying to achieve? And then understanding that, make sure you have the appropriate execution for that consumer.
That's very well said. I want to kind of wrap up the conversation with a non-business question.
Mm-hmm.
What would surprise people to know about you?
Well, Falcons is incredibly musical. I was walking past Cecil's office the other day, and there were a couple of people who just picked up guitars with Cecil, and they were jamming there, which is incredible. So what I'm going to tell you now does not mean I expect people to come into my office and start a cappella singing with me, because after about 13 or 14, my voice broke, and I cannot hold a note to save my life. However, when I was younger, I could sing. So much so that I was on tour with Barry Manilow, which many of you are not going to know who Barry Manilow is, but maybe the two of you in this room are going to know who Barry Manilow is. And I was fortunate enough to be in two of his concerts, two big ones. One at Blenheim Palace in front of 50,000 people, which was an open-air concert. And the other one was at the Royal Festival Hall in front of the Prince and Princess of Wales before she died.
That's amazing to have that experience, though.
It was incredible. It really was.
Can I just ask one more question? Because we our foot in the door episodes of this podcast are very popular, and I do hope to have you on one in the future. If somebody asked for your advice on how to get into the industry, what would you tell them?
Don't come in with an expectation that you know anything. Come in with an expectation that you will be a vessel, that you'll be a sponge, that you will absorb everything. Don't be shy to ask. Write in. Write to find the name of somebody. Write that, if you can find their name, put them all out there. Explain why you want to come in, why it's your passion. You want to learn. I think that's the way to do it.
Well, Simon, this was a lot of fun.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it as well. My first in-person podcast.
And we're happy to have you in person.
Thank you.
That wraps up this episode. Thank you to everyone out there who listened to this interview with our new president, Simon Phillips. We're very excited about what he is bringing to the table, obviously. Please join us again next time for another episode of the show.
Thank you for listening to Experience Imagination, a Falcons Creative Group production. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and share with your friends. To keep up with our latest news, visit us on the web at falconscreativegroup.com and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes, please email us at podcast@falconscreativegroup.com.